Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is chapter 74 of Gains. I know you've all been hanging out for this one since I left you on such a terrible cliffhanger yesterday. And this one is titled Amnesia. But just then a massive explosion detonated to your left, catching you and throwing you to the side. Bakugou had seen your distraction at the last second and adjusted his aim, bursting his explosion to your left and sending it into the side of the building that was there. Your light exploded as soon as the remnants of Bakugou's explosion hit it, which amplified its effects and took out some giant pieces of concrete from the sides of the building, making it dangerously unstable. Due to the light, sound and debris flying everywhere, you got disoriented and didn't know that you'd been airborne for a good few seconds before you hit the ground heavily on your side. Your head hit the dirt flooring of the arena first and you blacked out, only coming to when Bakugou was crouched beside you with a worried look on his face. You couldn't open your eyes very well as your vision was swimming in a sea of colour, and the ringing in your ears meant that you couldn't hear a thing, but you could feel his touch on your arm, and at first you thought he was still trying to fight you. You did try and yell for him to stop, feeling him grip your arm, but your voice only came out as a feeble cry, and in a panic you created a lightsaber and swung it without seeing where you were aiming. Suddenly you felt something warm dripping on you, and you looked around, trying to work out what was going on. With your head still pounding and eyes aching with coloured blotches, you finally focused on Bakugou's form, who had collapsed beside you, a giant cauterized wound across his chest. He was desperately trying to get up, but the wound looked deep, and that confused you even more. Where did that wound come from? Had you both been attacked by someone? Confused and not in your right mind, you scrambled to your feet and looked around, trying to locate the villain. Katsuki! You called loudly, even though he was only an arm's length and a bit from you, trying to get up off the ground. Katsuki! You couldn't hear your own voice very well. It sounded like you were underwater in a tin can, and you certainly couldn't hear him replying to your yelling. You were still panicked and didn't know what to do, standing there shaking like a leaf. Finally, Bakugou got up and staggered over to you, grabbing you in a hug. What happened? You called, still unable to hear your own voice or the volume you were using. I'm sorry, he whispered huskily into your ear. I'm sorry. What happened? Why are you hurt? You called to him, even though he was holding you. I did this, he said. I'm taking you to Recovery Girl. You could now hear a little bit through the loud ringing in your ears, and you heard him say something about Recovery Girl. Yes, you need to go. I'll take you, you said, staggering as he let you go from the hug. He grabbed your arm to stop you from falling over, and you looked at him confused. We need to go. Hurry before the bus leaves, you said urgently, struggling to get out of his grip. We're not taking the bus, he replied. Huh? You replied in wonder, before your eyes did a hard left and you collapsed. Thankfully, Bakugou was still close enough to catch you in his arms, and then he lifted you, bridal style, and carried you out of the arena and off to Recovery Girl. You were out of it the whole time she was treating you, and then you were placed on the bed in the nurse's office to let your body rest and recover, and Bakugou was then treated for his wounds. What happened? Recovery Girl asked the blonde. Training, he replied evasively. This is a dangerous wound from just training, she replied, checking the length of the wound and the depth too. Some of your ribs are cracked. He grunted. And why is Yin in the state she's in? She then quizzed. She most definitely has a concussion, and it wouldn't surprise me if she didn't remember this event once she wakes up. Bakugou remained silent. So, will you tell me what happened? She asked again. Training. Bakugou replied again with a scowl. It seems that I will need to call Aizawa in. There are things you're not telling me, she said. Fine, he snapped. We're training, and I avoided hitting her with my quirk, but it hit the building instead. She had just created a light ball, and it exploded when my explosion hit it, which caused a bigger explosion, and she copped all of it. I had started to move when I saw what was going to happen, and took most of the building debris to my back. Then I went to help her, but she was confused and she struck me with her lightsaber. She didn't know she'd done it. She had her eyes closed. I didn't even see her make it. It was that quick. And then now we're here, he said. That's a lot of power for such a quick quirk burst, Recovery Girl commented, finally giving Bakugou the healing kiss across his chest. I do believe it was an accident, but you shouldn't be training unsupervised with quirks. Accidents can turn fatal, she cautioned. Bakugou lowered his gaze. He knew this was true. It was 4 hours later when you woke up and rolled your head to the left and looked at the curtains drawn around the bed, and then rolled your head to the right side and looked in the bed beside you. Bakugou was lying there and you lifted your head a little with surprise. What happened? You asked him in a raspy voice. Why are we here? We needed healing from Recovery Girl, he said. Why though? You asked, furrowing your brows. Does she not remember? He thought. Do you remember anything? He asked. Anything of what? You asked. Of today, he replied. Yeah, you said slowly as you thought. We had, school and I was going to meet you for training. Did we train? What happened? Did we get hurt? Yes, he grunted. Are you okay? You asked. What happened? I hit the building with my quirk and it hit you. And you hit me with your quirk and it ended badly, he said, keeping things brief. Oh, you said, furrowing your brows. I don't remember anything. Bakugou sat up slowly, revealing his bandaged torso to you, only his black shorts on. You swallowed as you looked over at him. Man's was fine. He turned and got off the bed, and then came over to yours and knelt one knee onto your bed, putting one hand over you and leaning down over your body. Katsuki? You asked as he gently lowered himself down to hug you. You wrapped your arms around his back and held him, unsure of why he was suddenly being soft. You okay? You asked with concern. I won't do that anymore, he said softly, and you just scrunched your nose with confusion again. What was going on? There you go, a little bit of soft Katsuki for you, and there ends chapter 74. Stay tuned for chapter 75. I'll see you tomorrow for that one.